Okay, I've made this video a long time ago. I'm going to see if I can make it better. Talked about the importance of shoe wear. I'm speaking specifically on leather. This is a heavy, thick, oil-tanned leather shoe. It is not lightweight. It's not what you want for bugging out for long distances when you can resupply. You know, you can go to a Walmart store and get a new pair. So this is something you want to make last a long time. Now, common logic says if you have a good pair of leather boots that's going to last you a year, if you have two pairs of boots and you change them out every day, you would think it would last 2 years, right? Wrong. If you change them out every day, it can make them last 3 years. Why? Ideally, it's best to have at least 3 pairs of boots. And if you live in a wet climate like the Northwest, Washington State, where it rains all the time, or even if you're working on the farm. Okay, myself, I like to have, let's say, a boot like this. I'm just going to use this as an example. This is heavy leather, leather top. You can get the same boot with, say, 3 different color tops. Maybe one will be black, one would be, this one here is kind of a blue, and another one would be brown. That way they're separated. And you would be changing out one pair every day, and each week you would give a pair a rest, complete rest, so it dries completely out. And you would re-oil it with mink oil or neat's foot oil. So every week one boot gets put aside and totally oiled up. If you do that, you're going to have 3 pairs of boots that's going to last you 6 years. And then the uppers will be in good enough shape because you're keeping, in other words, every 3 weeks, in effect, you are completely oiling your boot. Now, if you work in concrete, you have to do it more often. Okay, concrete sucks the oil right out of a boot. But if you take care of those uppers, you will be able to put another pair of these on there and, in effect, probably get 12 years of life out of your boots. That's right, you can just put a new sole. They don't even make these anymore. This was made by Built Right. This is called a sole that's got Kevlar fibers in it. And no, it's not bulletproof, but these wore like iron. And they didn't wear out. That's why they quit making them. It's because these things would not wear out. The tread might get a little slick, but these Kevlar soles just wouldn't wear out. And that's why they quit making them, because the shoe repair people would put these on the boots and they'd never see that pair of boots again, because these last a long time. So that's why I still got them. Matter of fact, I had a pair of boots that had it was a pair of Justins that came with this type of sole on it, and I wore them, as big as I am, for 8 years and still did not wear the sole out. I mean, the top leather finally cracked apart, but the sole was still there. That's how good these soles were. That's why I've still got another pair. So one day, if I ever, wear another pair of boots out, I'm going to resole them with these Kevlar soles. Matter of fact, if I can find that other pair of Justin boots, I think they're in the shed, I'm going to take the old soles off of them because they're still good. That goes to show you when they make something really good, they tend not to make it anymore because face it, they want the stuff to wear out. These were originally made for people that work in fire, a lot of high heat stuff. Anyway, back to the leather care. At the very minimum, if you work out in the weather, even if it's dry, you should swap your boots out every day. And when you do that, make sure you have a boot that you can take the uh, sole out. And if you only have one pair of boots, you can swap these every day, just like with your socks, because these here can actually be taken out and washed. Now, what I do with mine, as many of you know, I have a way to make colloidal silver. So when I clean these, I will spray them down with colloidal silver, and basically all that does is impregnate the cloth with silver, which is antimicrobial. It doesn't allow bacteria to grow on it. And then I let it dry. So when it's dried out, the fabric basically has tiny particles of silver impregnated in it, and it keeps your feet from not only stinking, but any athlete's foot, or it keeps your feet more comfortable when you don't have bacterial growth. And while we're talking about foot care, I'm going to tell you another little secret. This hand lotion stuff. If you get the one that has the aloe, it's the green one. It's got a green tint because it's got aloe in it. At the end of the day, or beginning before you put your socks and everything on, go ahead and clean your feet with this Germ-X with aloe. Put it all in, rub it in between your toes and everything, and it will make your feet feel better if you're on your feet all day. And especially somebody like me, I put a lot of stress on my feet. So imagine what it would do for a normal person. Or even at the end of the day, you can rub this on your hot, tired feet, and when that alcohol evaporates, it cools it off and makes it feel better. And not only that, it kills the germs. So this, the Germ-X hand sanitizer with aloe, is also excellent for your feet. Okay, let's go back to the shoe care. So myself, I've got a pair of lace-ups and I got a pair of slip-ons. So you can say, the odd days of the week, you wear this. The even days, you wear this. And I swap them each day. That allows the inside to dry out, the moisture to dry out. And like I said, if you're in a wet climate, you're better off to have 3 pairs, or maybe even 4, depending on what kind of climate you're in. Also, they make boot dryers. What it is it's like a tube. You can make one out of PVC pipe and a little fan, and you just stick the PVC pipe up in there, and it blows air up inside your boot while it's sitting upside down like this. Now, granted, if the boot is soaking wet, you need to get some paper towels and dry it off. Or if it's really that soaking wet, it's going to take a couple of days for it to dry. Never put your boots right next to a fire. If it gets so hot where you can't touch it, comfortably touch it, uh, the shoe can come apart, because these shoes are put together with a glue that is heat and pressurized. And too much heat, can activate that glue and make it come apart. So you never, ever, ever, never want to put your shoes really close to a fire. It'll melt them and it'll activate the glue and make them come apart. So, if you're putting these by your fireplace, don't put them any closer than 6 foot away. Depends on, be logical about it. Don't get the boots over I'm going to just say 110 degrees, 120 degrees. You don't want your boots any hotter than that. Put a thermometer by it if you have to, and say, oh, this thing's getting too hot. It's hot to the touch. It's too hot. If it's just warm, if they feel warm, it's perfect. And that just lets it nice and dry out. What I do, or I did when we had wood heat, is we had a little fan, and put these upside down, and the fan would blow the warm air around the boots. So it's the constant air movement that allows it to dry out. After it's good and dry, you just take a cotton ball or something with the neat's foot oil or mink oil and just rub over it. Let it soak in good and put it off to the side. And then, you're ready to take your next boot off, put it on the dryer at the end of the day. And people think, well, that's so much trouble. It's so hard. That's why Americans are doomed, because they're too lazy to take care of their equipment. They're just a throwaway society. So with a little bit of care, you can make your good pair of boots last longer. So if you only have one pair of $100 boots, they may only last a year. If you have two pairs, they may last 3 years if you swap them out. And if you have three pairs, it may last 6 years because you're letting them completely dry out. You're letting all the fungus and everything out of them and stuff like that. And like I say, if you can make your own colloidal silver, it doesn't hurt a bit. Spray the insoles and let them dry out. And that helps a lot, believe me. Colloidal silver has so many uses. You'll notice I put it in a jar and tape it up because light will make your colloidal silver change color. Colloidal silver is photosensitive. So this is my little deal on making your shoes last longer so they will take care of you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using something heavily, but why not get your money's worth out of them? I mean, if you're going to pay for a good American pair of boots, a good American pair of boots like this now is about $150. So, go ahead, save your money, save up $500 and get 3 or 4 pairs. Get 3 pairs of good boots. And if they last you 6 years, that's only $50 a year, where would have spent that $50 on cheap Chinese shoes. Why not get good shoes? If you say that I'd rather have Chinese shoes, then you're just not. The problems we're having in this country are your fault. It's your fault. If you have an attitude like, I just go to Walmart and get me a $50 pair of shoes every year, you're the reason the country is in a downfall. Yep, you. Personally, I like it. And like good leather for a work boot. Now, like I say, the tennis shoe for, I call them tennis shoes. Some people call them athletic shoes. For just running around or a quick escape or something are okay. But I don't care what anybody says. A good, heavy leather boot cannot be beat for around a farm or construction work or actual work. I mean, you're not running in them. Well, you can, but you're not. How would I say? Competing athletically in them. You're got something that's protecting your feet for a long time, and it lasts a long time. Uh, you still just can't beat leather. I don't care what Nothing Fancy says.